All right, people, UFC 298 is this weekend, and I'll be going over the entire card and giving my predictions for each and every fight. And of course, we're going to start with the prelims first, and then we'll make our way up to the main event. And let's get to it. First match is Oban Elliott versus Val Woodburn. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to make this one quick and short. Val Woodburn is not a very good UFC fighter. Oban Elliott, yes, he has a lot of decisions on his record. This may go to decision, and I think it will. So I'm going to go Oban Elliott by decision over Val Woodburn. He's just not that good, and I can't trust him. So give me Elliott. Next up is Josh Quinlan versus Danny Barlow. And I'm going to go Danny Barlow in this. He got the knockout in the Contender Series, so we know that. And Quinlan is not a very good UFC fighter. So they're giving Barlow a little layup here. And what a stage to do it on. The UFC 298 prelims. Get a contender like this against a guy who's not very good in the UFC. And let's get him a win. So, yeah, give me Danny Barlow by round 1 KO. Next up, we got Zhang Mengyang versus Brenson Ribeiro. And I'm going to go Ribeiro in this matchup. And this is a little bit of an interesting fight. Both of these guys have finishes in every single one of their wins, which means we're probably going to get a finish in this fight. Why do I go Ribeiro? Well, he is the taller guy, and he has the reach advantage by, I think, 6 inches. I think he's got an 81-inch reach. But if you look at just the basic stats on these guys look identical. It's a true 50-50 matchup, but I like Ribeiro because of the reach advantage. Now, this is probably going to be a finish, so I'm going to go round 3 KO, but both these guys are going to go out there and slug, so expect this to be a very high-paced matchup and a matchup to look out for because both these guys are going to be looking for the finish. It should be a great fight, but give me Ribeiro by round 3 KO. Next up, we got Rinya Nakamura versus Carlos Vera, and guys, I'm going to go Nakamura. He's just the more talented mixed martial artist, right? We've seen him go out there and ragdoll guys. He's a great wrestler. And I think he's going to use that to his advantage in this fight, right? It may not be a finish, but I'm expecting a lot of takedowns and a lot of control time from Nakamura in this fight. I expect him to try to, extend the fight a little bit. Not really look to try to get the finish right away, but you could see a later finish in this one. So that's why I'm going to go a sub in the late second round. I just think he's going to dominate him with the ground game. And that will open him up on the feet, Vera on the feet, because if you're always constantly worrying for the takedown, you're going to drop levels, and that maybe Rinya gets a flash knockdown and sets him down and then subs him. And I kind of envision that in this fight. I see how it's going to play out in my head. And I could see him getting a stun, knock him down in the second and jump on his back and just finish it with a rear naked choke or some sort of choke like that. But yeah, give me Nakamura by round 2, late round 2 submission. Next up, we got Marcos Rogero de Lima versus Justin Tafa. And I'm going to go Justin Tafa in this. Last time out against Austin Lane. Well, the 2 last times out he was against Austin Lane. It was the eye poke and then the knockout in the second one. And yeah, I just like Tafa because he's younger, right? De Lima is good. And we saw him last time out against Derek Lewis where he got knocked out in the first round. He wasn't really fully knocked out from the knee, but I think Tafa will land with his hands, in which in case will knock him out. And that's how I see the fight going in the first round, because a lot of these heavyweights, right, you're either a finisher or you're not a finisher. De Lima's kind of in between of that. And he's a good mixed martial artist. I really do think he is a good heavyweight guy, but I just see Tafa finishing this one, right? Both the Tafa brothers are both known for their striking and their knockout abilities. And then Junior's really known for the kickboxing background. And these guys know how to finish fights, at least when it comes to knocking people out. I think Tafa just with the youth and the power advantage, I just think he'll get this one done early. And I could see a round 1 KO, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was round 2. But I'm going to go KO for Justin Tafa in this matchup. Next up, we got Alanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. And I'm going to go Mackenzie Dern by split decision. Hear me out on this one, okay? Lemos is really powerful on the feet, right? And she's got a bunch of knockouts, and we can just flash back to Mackenzie Dern's last fight. She struggled with the power of Jessica Andrade. The reason why I think this will favor Mackenzie Dern against a heavy-handed puncher this time around is the grappling disparity. And the grappling disparity is going to be evident in this fight, right? Lemos, last time out, got absolutely demolished on the ground by Zhang Weili. And Mackenzie Dern is known for her grappling. And I think she can control the fight. And we know Lemos is an explosive woman, right? I don't think she could be held down by Mackenzie Dern the entire time because she's not Zhang Weili, right? Zhang Weili is probably the most powerful strawweight there is. But Mackenzie Dern, I think, will have a great opportunity in this fight to use her jiu-jitsu, use her ground game to kind of take control of the fight, nullify the power of Lemos. And I think she'll get this one done by decision, and I do think it'll be a close decision, but I will go Mackenzie Dern by decision. Grappling is just going to be a problem for Lemos, unless she completely fixed it and it's no longer a problem. Then we'll see, right? We'll see if that's the case, but I just like Dern getting takedowns in this fight and nullifying the power of Lemos and ultimately winning a decision using the grappling. Next up, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez and Roman Kopylov face off as the first fight on the main card. And this one was one of the 3 tough fights I really had on this main card, really going back and forth. I think I'm going to go Anthony Hernandez in this fight. Right, Roman Kopylov has a good streak of knockouts, and he's a really decent prospect. And I think Kopylov, right, is getting a lot of these knockouts against guys who really aren't that good in the UFC. And Hernandez is just a freak of nature on the ground, or I should say, a freak of nature in the cardio department. This guy really has probably one of the best gas tanks in all of MMA. Truly. If you have never seen him fight, just watch his recent fight against Edmund Shabazian. The way he just controlled the fight and just dominated him with the cardio. I can see the same thing happening to Kopylov in this fight, where he thinks he's going to get a bunch of strikes off, and he will. He will get strikes off, and they will be powerful. But once the fight progresses, and once Hernandez starts to get going more in the grappling and really pushing a pace on Kopylov, that's where I see the fight changing guards. And I think Hernandez can control him all he wants because he's going to have the better gas tank out there, and he can go a hard 15 minutes compared to Kopylov, right? Right, Kopylov's cardio is nothing special. He's a great striker with great power, and he finishes people. Awesome. I love Roman Kopylov. But Hernandez is a different beast, and Hernandez will use the grappling and will use that cardio as a weapon, and it will be effective as soon as the sting on those punches after a couple takedowns, wear off, right? Once Hernandez starts just absolutely going forward and marching him down and taking him down and using that cardio, right? But the one thing I am worried about with this is I could see Kopylov catching Hernandez coming in for a takedown entry with either a knee or an uppercut. That's something I was thinking about when I was breaking down the fight, and I was really trying to think of who I really thought was going to win this fight. And that was one thing that popped up, and that's why I ultimately began saying I was thinking Kopylov was going to win. But once you start looking at who he's fighting and the guy who Anthony Hernandez is, I just started to lean towards Hernandez, right? And then I rewatched some of his fights, and this guy is just an animal. He really is just an animal. He has a win over Brendan Allen on the regional scene, which is really, really good. And we know where Brendan Allen is right now. He's ranked in the top 10 at the same division. So we know the caliber of fighter he is. So yeah, I just think Hernandez will just take over this fight as early as he wants, really. We'll see how fast he pushes the pace and how fast he wants to get things going. Because Kopylov doesn't have a lot of output. He really doesn't. He picks his shots really well and has a lot of power, as I said. But he's not very high output. And if you're facing a guy like Hernandez who has an insane gas tank, that might be a problem. So that's why I'm going Anthony Hernandez by decision. Next up, I got Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo, and I'm going to go Merab, but it will be close. I think a lot of people are underestimating Henry Cejudo in this fight. Look, he's got Olympic level wrestling, and I know that's a different animal that you're facing out there in Merab, who, as I was saying with Anthony Hernandez, just has freakish cardio, really. I mean, this whole card has some of the best cardio fighters in the UFC, and Merab's he's the top guy. He's the top guy. He's going to push an insane pace on Cejudo. Is he ready for it? I think he will be, because, right, Merab wins his fights by controlling people on the fence, landing, shooting takedowns, and just smothering you ultimately. And Cejudo hasn't really faced a smotherer outside of Sterling, and he did really well in that fight. I mean, all things considered, he took it to a split decision. Now, was it really a split decision? I thought it was more just a unanimous, but nonetheless, he took it to a decision with Aljamain Sterling and really kept it close the entire time. The thing that is hurting him in this fight, though, is Merab is hungry, man. He wants to get that belt really bad. And Cejudo, this is kind of his, to see if he's still in the top, if he's still one of the top guys in the UFC. So it'll be a very interesting match. I do think it will be close, though, right? I think Cejudo will keep him at range as much as he possibly can before Merab shoots a takedown entry. The only thing is I think Cejudo will have success later in the fight. Contrary to belief, I think he'll have success later in the fight once, he gets used to the Merab entries and he'll stuff it and maybe get a takedown of his own. And that's why I think it'll be close, right? We know Merab has a gas tank. I'm not discrediting the gas tank in this, but I'm just saying Cejudo might find out later. It's like, I got a game plan now. It didn't work right away, and I know how to stuff the takedowns. And I think that's how he's gonna, take it to a decision. But ultimately, I just think Merab will steamroll him early on. And I think it just won't be close early. And it might not, it could be complete opposite of what I'm saying. He might, stuff the takedowns early and then he'll just scathe by. But I just think Cejudo's too smart for his own good. I shouldn't even say he's that smart. This guy's known as a high IQ fighter. He's not really that high IQ. But he'll be high IQ enough in the wrestling to stick with Merab's pressure and cardio. But ultimately, it just won't be enough. I'm going to go Merab by decision. Ian Garry is back to face Geoff Neal. Yes, Ian Garry is finally back. I'm so excited. As much as I do not like this guy, and as much as I clown this guy, he's an amazing fighter. He really is. And I'm so interested on this fight week, how he approaches it. Because last time around, right, all that controversy was stirring right as he was coming up to fight. And then he had pneumonia and couldn't fight. And it was like, okay, Ian Garry's out. Now he's coming back, facing Geoff Neal, his original opponent for that Boston card this summer. And I like this matchup. If there's a chance for Ian Garry to get knocked out cold, it's Geoff Neal that could do it. But I don't think it's going to happen. And Ian Garry's just a really, really, really good striker. And he knows how to keep distance from a lot of these other guys, right? He's 6'3", but doesn't have the best reach for that. I think it's 74 inches. And Geoff Neal may have the similar reach or even, a little bit less. But, Ian Garry is really good with distance, and he knows how to enter, right? We know the Sankanon fight, he got knocked down, right? But he made incredible adjustments and really just took it to him in that third round and ultimately knocking him out. I see the same thing here for Ian Garry, where he may get caught early in the fight, but ultimately throughout the fight, he's just going to be picking Geoff apart. And with the low kick, and he'll be popping him in the face with jabs. And I think Neal will return, and I think it'll be close up until Ian Garry finishes him. But Ian Garry's just too skilled. He really is. Like, Geoff Neal is a guy who we could see as potentially beating Ian Garry, but he's not high level enough to, I think, do that every single time out. And I think this time, Ian Garry, he's got a chip on his shoulder, right? This guy is probably the most hated guy in MMA. He wants to prove a point. He wants to knock out Geoff Neal. And I think he does. And I would be excited for that because that's just more publicity for Ian Gary. And he would get talked about so much, and he will be talked about a lot this fight week, which I'm very interested to see what he says and reacts to what the media has to ask him and other things like that. And, you know, maybe the press conference won't be as good as it would have been if he fought on 296, but I'll take it. It's Ian Gary at a press conference. He's always going to say something wild. And I'm excited for Ian Gary to go out there and fight. And I think he'll get it done by round 3 KO. Up we have Robert the Reaper Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Why did I do that? But I'm going to go Robert Whittaker in this fight. And guys, I actually do think it will be close. I do think it'll be close. Just because as much shit as Paulo Costa gets and how people clown him, right? How he's not that good, how he's overrated. How did you lose to Marvin Vettori? I think he will keep it close. I mean, he looks really, really in shape come this fight camp. And it has nothing to do with shape. But it almost does, right? He won't gas out like he did against Rockhold. He won't gas out like he did against Vettori. I think this time in a 3-rounder that's not at altitude in fucking Salt Lake City or whatever, I think he'll keep it close. But ultimately, the Reaper's just too good, dude. I know he got knocked out by Dricus du Plessis, but that's the same Dricus du Plessis who has the middleweight belt right now. So, Robert Whittaker is fine. I know he got knocked out. It was not a good look, but he's taking some time off. He's rejuvenated. He also has a chip on his shoulder. Both these guys have chips on their shoulder, guys. Both these guys do. But I'm just going to go Robert Whittaker. He's more skilled. And I think he'll get this one by decision because I don't think he'll knock out Paulo Costa. It'll be a, probably a 30-27, maybe a 29-28. But I think Robert Whittaker, ultimately skill set will just be too well-versed and too well-rounded for Paulo Costa to handle. But yeah, I think Paulo Costa will keep it close. I really do. But ultimately, I have to lean Robert Whittaker. I do. And then we have the main event, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. I'm not going to go too in detail with this. I already did a whole video on my YouTube channel of why I think Alexander Volkanovski will win. So I got to the point. I think Volkanovski will win this fight. Let me just highlight some points that I made in that video. So let me give up 3 points to why I think Volkanovski will win. Fight IQ, just too good, I think. I think he's just too good. I think he's got a massive chip on his shoulder for this fight. I do. And I think the leg kicks will ultimately win him the fight. And so I picked him by round 3 KO. I think early he will kick the lead leg of Ilia Topuria, and that'll be trouble for Ilia Topuria, right? And I think ultimately throughout the fight, with his cardio and the paces he pushed, I don't think Ilia will land most of those counters that he's looking to land because the lead leg's busted and because Volkanovski's moving out of the way of everything. And I think he'll take him down, contrary to belief, right? Ilia Topuria's got good grappling. I think he will take him down. Land some ground and pound. Ilia will, try to go like this, try to block some shots, but ultimately I think he'll finish on the ground kind of like how he finished Yair. Not in the most vigorous way, but he'll land something that Ilia will not react to very well. And I think he'll knock him out in the third. And I just trust Volkanovski in this matchup, right? I want Ilia Topuria to get humbled so bad, but I respect how talented he is as a mixed martial artist, and that's why it was so hard for me to pick a winner here. And I think Ilia, he has a really good chance to win this, right? Volkanovski just got knocked out by Islam Makhachev in his last fight, and he is 35 years old. And I brought all these points up on why this is tailor-made for Ilia Topuria to win. And I never brought up the changing of the guards of the UFC wanting Ilia Topuria to be a champion because he's younger, right? We've kind of squeezed every little bit of juice that we could out of Volkanovski, and the UFC would probably want Ilia Topuria to win. But guys, it's Volkanovski, man. He's gonna keep it close with everyone, and I think he will keep it close and damage Ilia Topuria but I think he will knock him out. But it will be close. Yet again, it will be close. Ilia Topuria is no slouch. I just think there's certain points where you gas yourself up too much and get to a certain point where you think you're better than everyone else, where the guy under you who's being doubted, right? Volkanovski's being doubted by a lot of people, and he wants to prove that he still got it. And that's why I'm going to go Volkanovski by round 3 KO. If you like this video, leave a like and please subscribe. And comment down some video ideas I should do this week. I'm going to try to be posting every single day now. So, yeah, we got the press conference on Thursday. We got fighter interviews just Wednesday. We got the face-offs. We just got everything. The embedded video. So, it's great to have a pay-per-view back. UFC 298 should be really, really good. And I'm really excited for it. But, yeah, comment down some video ideas I should do. And, yeah, until next time.